a devoted wife, a loving husband, a seemingly perfect life, until one night she found something she was never meant to see. At first, it was just a small detail, something that didn't quite add up. A message on his phone, a locked drawer he never used to keep shut, a late-night drive that didn't match the story he told. But the more she looked, the more questions she had. And then, one night, she made a discovery that changed everything. What she uncovered would send shockwaves through their quiet Texas town, leading investigators down a trail of deception, betrayal, and a horrifying truth that no one saw coming. And what if I told you her husband wasn't the man she thought he was? Before we go any further, what do you think she discovered? Let us know your theories in the comments below. A wife, a husband, and 12 years of marriage built on trust. At least, that's what Emily Carter believed. She knew Daniel better than anyone. Or so she thought. He had his habits, his routines, the little quirks she'd grown to love. A cup of coffee at exactly 7:15 every morning. The way he left his shoes by the door, even though she always reminded him not to. The late nights in his home office, staring at lines of code for his IT job. Nothing seemed out of place, until the night everything changed. At first it was small, a flicker of something unusual, a text message that disappeared before she could read it, a locked drawer that was never locked before, a missing paycheck that Daniel couldn't explain. Most people would have brushed it off, a misunderstanding, a lapse in memory, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then, on the night of October 14th, she made a discovery in their home office, one she was never supposed to find. What she saw that night would unravel everything she thought she knew, and before long the quiet life she cherished would become the center of an investigation no one saw coming. Before we go any further, what do you think Emily found? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Emily Carter was the kind of woman people admired. At 38, she had built a life she was proud of, teaching at a local elementary school, volunteering on weekends, and coming home every evening to the man she had loved for over a decade. Her husband, Daniel Carter, was just as well respected, an IT consultant with a quiet, analytical mind. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but he was reliable, stable, the kind of man you could count on. They lived in a quiet neighborhood in Austin, Texas, the kind of place where the biggest scandal was a neighbor's dog digging up someone's garden, a place where nothing bad ever happened. But as we often say, things aren't always what they seem. Because on the evening of October 14th, Emily stumbled upon something in their home office, something that would change everything. And once she opened that door, there was no going back. It started small, so small that Emily Carter almost didn't notice, a shift in her husband's routine, subtle enough to brush off. Late nights at his desk, a locked phone that had never needed a password before, an unfamiliar scent on his clothes, one she couldn't quite place. Maybe it was work, maybe stress, or maybe it was something else. But the moment that truly made her stomach turn, the night she walked into their home office and saw Daniel, frozen, staring at his computer screen, his expression unreadable, his posture rigid. The second he noticed her, he slammed the laptop shut. Too fast, too forceful. "What are you working on?" she asked casually, forcing a smile. His answer came too quickly, too rehearsed. "Just emails, work stuff." But Emily saw the way his hand hovered over the laptop, as if guarding something. That moment should have been the warning she needed, but she let it go. Days passed, then weeks. The secrecy grew, the locked drawers, the hushed phone calls, the nights spent working late, but with no extra money in their bank account to prove it. Emily knew something was wrong. She just didn't know how deep it went. until one evening when Daniel left his laptop open, unattended, and she did something she'd never done before. She looked. At first, it was nothing. Work files, emails, but then a folder, tucked away, buried under layers of directories, almost as if someone wanted to make sure no one ever found it. It was titled, "For Your Eyes Only." Her hands trembled as she clicked, and what she found inside was something she was never meant to see. If you were in Emily's shoes, would you confront your spouse immediately, or dig deeper first? Let us know in the comments below. Emily Carter wasn't the kind of person to snoop. She never had a reason to. But that night, after what she saw on Daniel's computer, she felt something she couldn't ignore. An instinct deep in her gut, telling her that whatever was happening, it was bigger than she could imagine. She needed to talk to someone who would tell her she wasn't crazy. So she called her best friend, Rachel, the one person she could trust. Rachel listened carefully as Emily whispered about the folder, the files, the way Daniel had been acting. When she finished, there was silence on the other end of the line. Then Rachel spoke. "Emily, you need to find out what else he's hiding." That was all Emily needed to hear. The next day, while Daniel was at work, she went searching. But not on his laptop. Not this time. She started somewhere he'd never think to check. The basement. Their basement was mostly storage. Holiday decorations, old furniture, forgotten boxes stacked high against the walls. She started with the ones labeled MISC. A few were filled with old clothes, yearbooks, nothing unusual. Then she found it. A plain, unmarked shoebox shoved behind a row of storage bins. Inside were things that didn't make sense. A wallet, but not Daniel's. Inside it, an ID, but the name printed on the card wasn't his. The face, though, it was unmistakable. She flipped through the box, another ID, a different name, a different city, but the same photo. And then, a phone, one she'd never seen before. Cheap, disposable, the kind meant to be thrown away. She hesitated before tapping the screen. The messages loaded slowly, and when they did, her stomach twisted. "Unknown number. We need to meet. She's asking questions." Unknown number. If she finds out the truth, you know what to do. Emily's hands were shaking. She felt lightheaded, her vision narrowing. Because this wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just some double life. This was something worse, something dangerous. And then she saw it, sitting at the bottom of the box. A metal case. Small, heavy, locked. She needed to know what was inside, but there was just one problem. She didn't have the key. At this point, what would you do? Call the police. Pretend like nothing happened. Drop your thoughts below. Emily felt trapped. The deeper she dug, the darker it became. Each new discovery sent her spiraling further into a nightmare, and she knew she couldn't go on like this. That's when she made the decision that would change everything. She hired a private investigator. The investigator, a seasoned man named Jack Harris, was no stranger to unsettling cases. But when Emily handed him the fake IDs, the burner phone, and the locked metal case, even he could sense that something was off. For days, Jack dug into Daniel's past. The more he uncovered, the more his suspicions grew. By the time he called Emily back, she could hear the gravity in his voice. "I need you to sit down," Jack said, his tone serious. "What I've found, it's worse than I thought." The first shocking detail, Daniel wasn't even Daniel Carter, not his real name. In fact, his identity had been altered twice before he'd moved to Texas. Jack's investigation revealed that Daniel's real name was Jason Cole, and even that wasn't the first name he'd ever used. The man Emily thought she knew had erased his past, leaving behind a trail of false identities. But it didn't stop there. Jack had found records of two missing women in the same state where Jason, or rather Daniel, had once lived. Both women had vanished without a trace. But as Jack connected the dots, it became clear that Daniel, or Jason, had been directly linked to their disappearances. Emily felt her heart drop as Jack continued, each word a crushing weight. The most chilling detail of all, the metal case she'd found. It didn't belong to Daniel. It had belonged to one of the missing women. That case wasn't just a random object. It held something far more disturbing, evidence of a past that had been carefully concealed. It was now clear. Daniel's double life wasn't just about lies. It was about hiding something far worse. And then, as if everything wasn't already spiraling out of control, Emily realized something even more terrifying. Daniel knew. He knew she was onto him. Emily had made the mistake of leaving a single document on the kitchen counter, one that revealed everything she'd learned, a trail of evidence laid bare. And when she came home that evening, she found the document gone, and Daniel's car in the driveway. She knew she didn't have much time, because the man she thought she'd spent 12 years with wasn't just hiding from the law. He was now hunting her down. At this point, how would you feel? What should Emily do next? Is it too late to escape? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The night before Emily planned to go to the police, something happened. Something that would push her and the investigation into a new, terrifying direction. At exactly 3 a.m., the security cameras captured a shocking image, Daniel's car speeding away from their home. No warning, no signs of a struggle, just a man desperate to disappear into the night. Emily was left in stunned silence, her hands shaking as she realized her worst fear. Daniel had vanished. The next morning, the police arrived at the house, ready to search for any remaining evidence. It was too late to stop him, but Emily had already told them everything she knew. They checked every room, every closet, until they reached the locked metal case. Emily had never managed to find the key, but now, with the case in police hands, the answer was about to be revealed. Inside the case, a chilling discovery. A small, leather-bound diary, its pages stained with age and secrets, personal items from the missing women, photos, jewelry, even a watch. But the worst thing was the blood-stained piece of clothing that seemed to tell a story too horrifying to comprehend. This was no ordinary case. It was a tomb of dark secrets, linking Daniel to crimes far beyond what anyone could have imagined. But this discovery was just the beginning. As the case unfolded, a nationwide manhunt was launched. Daniel had become a fugitive, vanishing without a trace, leaving behind a trail of devastation and unanswered questions. And just when authorities thought they had lost him forever, a shocking connection was revealed. It turned out that Daniel had been investigated years prior by the FBI, but somehow he had slipped through the cracks. He had a history, one that had been carefully buried, but now everything was coming to light. And then, Daniel made one fatal mistake. What do you think Daniel's fatal mistake was? Was it too late for him to escape? Share your theories below. 6 months later, a breakthrough in the case came from an unlikely place, Arizona. Daniel, or whatever name he was using now, was caught. He had been living under yet another new identity, hiding in plain sight, evading the law once again. But his freedom didn't last. The authorities tracked him down, and he was arrested on charges of multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and suspicions of 2 unsolved murders. The courtroom was tense as the world learned the full extent of his crimes. Emily, however, was nowhere to be seen. She had disappeared, her whereabouts unknown, living in hiding, avoiding the public eye since the discovery. Despite his arrest, the case remains open. Authorities continue to uncover chilling new evidence, connecting him to crimes they hadn't even suspected. There are whispers that Daniel's list of victims could be much longer than anyone imagined. But the ultimate question remains. What was Daniel planning? Was he about to strike again, or was his past about to catch up to him once and for all? Do you think Daniel was planning something even worse? Was there a part of Emily's discovery that could have stopped him sooner? Should she have gone to the police earlier? Let's discuss in the comments below. If you love deep dives into chilling true crime stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we've got more cases coming your way that will leave you speechless.